Batman Annual number 4. Tom King writing with Jorge Fornes and Mike Norton on the art. So interesting. I think Batman's the only book with a 4th annual. Obviously since they started the numbering with Rebirth. It just shows you that Batman sells so well that they have an annual every year. Every other book doesn't quite get that. Some of them have gotten to issue 3.
I was just checking. I was like Wonder Woman because that's on 3, but I thought maybe that had been 4, but nope.
Nope. So annual issue 4, and this is all told from Alfred's perspective. It's meant to be Alfred's diary, talking about Batman doing stuff. Basically, it's almost an anthology style story where you get maybe 4 or 5 pages, at least at the start of the book, talking about a specific event of Batman doing something, and then the book kind of naturally, they get kind of quicker and quicker to the point where they're only maybe 2 or 3 pages, and then by the end they're getting half pages, and then the final couple pages are literally just a panel each, without even any
because
narration
every
at that point.
single one of these stories is a day, and it's a day sequentially as well. So we start on Sunday, March 7th, and then the next day is Monday, March 8th.
Yes.
By the end, it's going through like an entire week in a page.
Yeah. So, the first one's Batman chasing down some bank robbers on a horse
on the rooftops. I guess King likes horses more than Snyder does.
Very possibly. It is what it is. The art's pretty good actually. I think Fornes.
I really love Fornes.
Solid.
It's a little bit disappointing. I think we were supposed to have Lee Weeks on this issue originally.
We were, yes.
So that's a little bit disappointing, but I mean, could be worse.
So, and then there's a story of him fighting a dragon in Gotham.
Yep. Looks good.
Interesting full page spread, if nothing else. I will say, I thought this issue had a really good tone to it. I will say, overall, I'm a little kind of lukewarm on it, and I think it's because some of the stories I got really excited by the first couple pages, and then it just ended suddenly as if there was no actual story to tell. The one I'm thinking of specifically, I know Matt loved the MMA one where Batman takes a charity fight with a UFC fighter, who because he kept refusing because this fighter wanted to fight Batman because he's like, I can beat everyone else, I need to fight Batman, and Batman obviously doesn't give a shit until it comes out that this guy's beating up his wife, and Batman's like, well, he snuck out a justice from that, so you know what, I will fight him in the ring and I'll beat the shit out of him as justice. So I know Matt liked that one, but the one that I got excited about because I was really into the story of it is the murder mystery where this guy was killed in his house and there were 6 suspects. We have this page going through so it's almost like Cluedo or Clue for the American audience, where it's like, okay, the daughter was here and this is her backstory, and here's this old friend, here's his backstory, here's the maid.
It's a proper Agatha Christie story.
Here's the son, here's this lawyer, blah blah blah. Here's the wife, and I was like, oh, I'm really into this. I'm really into this mystery. And then the next page, there's a couple of pages of Batman staring at the screen, and then we just get told the answer. There was no like.
It's frustrating because it's literally a page to introduce the case, a page of here are all the suspects, a page of Batman staring there going, someone was lying, someone.
Yeah,
someone.
Up until that point. And up until that point, I was really into it. I'm like, okay, so how's he going to investigate it? What's he going to do? And it just tells us the answer on the next page as the guy's been arrested. And I'm like,
and that's the whole story. Yeah, it's frustrating because again, I agree. Like, I like a lot of the individual stories. They're all pretty well told. As truncated as they are, tone's great, art's great. But it's hard to care about the issue overall when it's just all just there. I think. I feel like that's supposed to be kind of the point. Like every day, Batman does one of these things, and it's just it kind of gets mundane almost because it's every single day.
I'm okay with that point because when you get to the end of the book and it's like the story's called Every Day. This is the idea is that every day he's doing something, and I just think some of them like had potential to be better stories because if they had more time, like that murder mystery one, I thought could have been a really fun little thing. And I don't even mean like I'm talking like 2 or 3 more pages just to actually have him investigate the murder in some way.
Yeah. I could have done with more of that one. I could have done with more of the dragon.
There's one where he runs into like his prom date, and they kind of reminisce about old times, and we kind of like know from Alfred's like diary that this did actually affect Bruce. Like he did kind of fall in love back as a teenager, but when he left and came back, Bruce Wayne never really came back because when he came back, obviously he was Batman.
Yeah, really great colors throughout, but especially in that sequence because it flicks between present day and the flashback. and the colors completely change for each one, and it's always very clear immediately which is which. That's kind of great.
Then there's one where Batman sneaks onto a train. There's some sort of like deal going down with an explosive, and Batman like, pretends to be the one guy in the deal, and it's really just about him sneaking on the train and like taking the guy's hat, and like it ends with him meeting the buyer or whoever, or the seller of this device, and that's all it really is. And again, the way it's told, the art, the sequential storytelling of him, like, he's got this fake mustache on. He's not quite Matches Malone. I mean, that's what makes you think of when you think of Batman disguised with a mustache, but it's not quite that. But it plays this story visually, because this is the thing. Alfred is sometimes telling you what the story is, but sometimes he's kind of like giving his thoughts on Bruce instead, and the story is just the art. So whenever that happens, the art does carry the story pretty well. Like,
it does. Well, there's one point in that where I didn't like the narration in terms of I think it was in the very first one, actually, where he was talking about, taking the young Bruce to the horses.
Mm.
And it had that problem. We talk about like whenever we watch Gotham, of how young Bruce is so kind of terrifyingly determined, even at that age, is kind of weird about it.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
I got that from that little sequence.
It's not as bad as him standing on the roof saying, "I'm trying to conquer my fear, Alfred. I'm
No,
going
it's
to
not
conquer
like
my
that. I
fear."
think it was Bruce going like, there are no ideals, all this sort of stuff. I'm like, I'm pretty sure Bruce is like 10 or 11 at this point when this story is being told by Alfred, and like, I just don't buy it.
Oh, I will say the trippy one didn't do much for me. There's one where he's like in like another dimension, and it's like just all these colors and like wavy lines and shit. I mean, I did kind of laugh at the end where, there's this interdimensional being, this big eyes, sort of saying, "Oh, I will do this, I'll do that, blah, blah." I empower glory, I'm, whatever. And Batman's like, "Yeah, you're all these things, but I'm Batman." And then that just wins the fight. I imagine Matt I wonder if Matt mentioned this in his notes.
That is ultimate because Batman, isn't it?
But he basically says, "Yeah, but I'm Batman, so I'm going to win." And the being's like, "You know what, yeah, you're right. I'll just send you back." But I wasn't into most of it just because it felt like a mess of color, and I get that that's the point, but it's one of these things where I think I don't know if the art style from I think Foreigners is very good, and I don't know if this may have been making up Norton even.
No, that's Foreigners. I can tell you the Norton pages. We'll get there in a minute.
Okay, sure, but I like Foreigners a lot, but I think you need a very specific art style to pull off these weird, like, sort of psychedelic things.
I'll tell you who might always the gold bar of artists is for this.
Fraser Irving.
Fraser Irving's up there. I'm going to go with Mike Allred. Gold bar for these things.
Okay. Well, Mike Allred is kind of more along what this looks like, though. I mean, this doesn't look exactly like Allred.
It is, but he has this really clean style, and the colors pop, and it feels really tight when he does these sequences.
I don't want it to be clean. Like, this should be ethereal. This should be.
I get that. I think Faunus kind of falls in this middle ground where his noir stuff is gorgeous. It's phenomenal.
Yes.
This stuff, it kind of just looks a bit, I don't want to say messy because it's not quite the right word, but it's just not there, is it?
Then I think after this, we're at the single pages. Yeah, he's fighting mummies, I think, and then he's fighting kaiju. Oh, this is not like Night of the Monster Man. This actually looks like the kaiju from Pacific Rim. This is legitimately what it looks like.
Yeah.
He's going down a submarine, and then because at that point we're into like 3 a page, and he's like,
it's this next page after the kaiju. That's when we're on Norton. I can tell immediately everything is. They've done a good job of trying to emulate the same style, but it's so clean. Like, look at the blacks and the lines. Everything's so much tighter and neater immediately, and it kind of completely pulled me out.
It didn't to me. I think it's close enough, and I think it still looks good, which is important.
It does. It looks good, but it just wasn't quite the same.
But Batman, he's diving down in an aircraft. He's chasing a race car driver. He's interrogating someone for the police. Then it's 4 page. So again, it's like we go from 3 to 4. So they're getting quicker and quicker. He's fighting Calabac. He's got his skis out because that's something I want to talk about actually. The Frozen Man, is this our 9th cold-based villain?
I know. I got really excited when I saw that. It's honestly my favorite thing from this issue because it was like, oh, we've got another cold villain.
Hold on. Mr. Freeze, I'm counting them. Mr. Freeze, Captain Cold, Cold Snap, Icicle Jr., Minister Blizzard,
Killer Frost.
Killer Frost. There you go. The Frozen Man. That's 8. Am I missing one?
You probably are.
But that's a lot.
That is a lot.
That's our like H tier cold villain now.
The new cold snap.
I don't know.
Oh.
I feel like Cold Snap should be higher than Minister Blizzard, but Minister Blizzard just has a better name, so
It does.
so you just kind of graduate above. And then Batman's in space fixing a space satellite or something.
A space satellite is usually where they are.
Yeah, and then I was going to say space station, but then I looked at it and no, it's more like a satellite. And then there's dinosaurs in Gotham, and then it's 5 in a page, and he's hacking. Then he's performing surgery, and then he's finding a little boy. Then he's fighting an alligator in a house. I have to imagine that Tom Taylor went to see Crawl before he wrote this issue, and that's why there's an alligator panel in there.
Did you just say Tom Taylor?
Tom King.
That is funny because there is a running thing of them being mixed up. I don't know if you've seen this.
I have, yeah.
Even previews on Diamond mixes them up sometimes.
That was just a slip of the tongue. Then he's on a biplane, and then we got 6 in a panel. Do you know what? Actually, as I'm going through these and I'm saying out how many panels, I realized they were getting quicker and quicker. I don't think I noticed when I was reading it the first time that it's literally 1 extra panel per page as we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we're on 6, and he's in chains. He's getting out. He's hugging Tim. He's doing chemistry. He's rescuing a man on a ledge. He's what's this one? He's in the jungle.
Tarzan.
Yeah, he's in the jungle. He's helping an old lady across the street. And then again, sure enough, it's 7 panels in the next one. He's fighting an imposter. And it's worth mentioning that the 7th panel one is the first one, I think, without any narration from Alfred whatsoever. It's just the dates. It's just the diary entry dates.
Yeah.
He's fighting an imposter. He's playing football for some reason. He's hanging from a helicopter. He's jousting. He's seeing an attractive lady. I don't know what was going on in that one, to be honest. He's with another woman. He's bloody and beaten. He's on a Gundam?
Megazord.
Or Megazord, yeah. He's on a giant
something. Take your pick.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Then sure enough, 8 panels on the next page. He's dangling on a tight wire above fire. Then he's on a ship with a big steering wheel. Then he's doing...
He's got an eye patch on that one, which I kind of appreciated.
He's doing... I already said chemistry. I'll say forensics. He's doing forensics. Then he's doing ninja fighting. And then he's in Zebra World. and then he's saving dogs in rivers or flooding. And then
he's definitely saw Crawl recently because look at that flooding.
That's true. Yeah. That moment's even out of Crawl actually, carrying the dog out in the water. And then he's staking a vampire. And then he's being arrowed to a wall.
Arrowed to a wall.
Yes. And then 9 panels in the last page, although 3 of them are just credits and titles. But he's grabbing kids out of traffic. He's on a submarine, and then is
that a submarine? I thought that was a spaceship. There's planets behind him, surely.
Oh yeah, a little bubbles to me at a glance.
Okay, I don't see that.
Yeah, I mean the planets don't necessarily look like bubbles, but the stars look like bubbles.
They do.
He's in an alleyway, facing off against someone. Maybe that made me a RoboCop actually. That panel, just because I've seen RoboCop where he saves like a woman who's been attacked in an alleyway, in the shadow with the wall behind him, just made me think of that. He's holding Catwoman off a roof. He's dangling above Piranha in a chain trap, and then the final panel.
He's punching Joker.
Yes. So there you go.
Yeah.
It's a fine issue. The art looks really good. I think it could have probably done with a few less stories.
I think it just ultimately doesn't feel like it has any connect. I know that's the kind of the point. Is it's every day is different, but it doesn't have any connecting through line. It tries to in Alfred's journal, like that Alfred caring about him supposed to be, but it's just not quite there, is it? To make me care as a cohesive whole story.
I don't feel as strongly about that. I think it works as a slice of life kind of thing.
I think if there was less stories, like if there'd been 4 or 5, I'd be okay with it being okay. We're doing a few little anthology things because it was okay. We're getting quicker and quicker as we go, and it's all these individual snapshots to the point where the last 10 pages are just single panel stories. It felt like I was just flicking through it, seeing, okay, that's this day, that's that day. There was no narrative anymore.
What's weird about that though is I actually think that's where the issue kind of weirdly picked up, because I started to really get the point of what it was doing.
I know I got the point. It didn't. It lost its impact as well at the same time for me.
Because in the first half of it, when I got to like the third story, I was like, well, what's the connection between these? These feel so random. But when it got to that last chunk where it was speeding up, I got the sort of narrative structure of it, and it was kind of making more sense to me. And that was kind of the point, is that, you know, Batman's doing something different every day. There's no rest for the goddamn Batman, and this is Alfred kind of sort of observing it. Is that obviously it's not King's best Batman annual by any means, but I think I liked it more than you did, even though I do have some complaints that I think a couple of the stories deserved more time, because that murder mystery one really got me into it, and then it just was like, here's the answer, okay.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I just, by the end I was like, okay, I get it. I didn't care by the end, which was a shame.
What are you giving it though?
I'll give it a 7 because I enjoyed enough of the stories and the art.
I will give it an 8. And fair enough, Matt also gave it an 8. He said, really enjoyed this issue. First time I've loved a Batman story. Well, in general, I assumed he meant in a long time, but now I've just read the sentence. It says, first time I've loved a Batman story. I have to imagine that he meant to say in a long time.
I assume so.
Because he's definitely loved other Batman stories, as much as he likes to joke that he doesn't like Batman that much.
Yeah, he has.
Alfred's narrative brings a lot of perspective to the Bruce we've seen in King's Run. The MMA story and the girl and the bar story really resonated with me. So he didn't mention... What was the one that I thought he was going to mention?
Goddamn Batman.
Ah, yeah, he didn't mention that one. I bet that was his least favourite, though. We'll ask him next week. I bet you that was his least favourite.